One of the quietest questions I get from men and women in their 70s is this. Dr. Easton, I still want to enjoy intimacy, but my body just doesn't feel the same anymore. Sometimes it's a man telling me his hands ache too much to even think about touching himself. Other times, it's a woman whispering about dryness or discomfort, afraid she's too old to even ask about it. If that sounds familiar, let me tell you something right away. You're not alone, and there's absolutely nothing shameful about it. You're human, and your desire for connection, pleasure, and comfort doesn't disappear with age. It simply changes form. That's what today's conversation is about. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton. I've spent over 30 years working with older adults, helping men and women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond navigate the changing landscape of their bodies. And the truth is, one of the most overlooked parts of aging gracefully is learning how to stay comfortable and safe during solo time, especially if you're dealing with arthritis, dryness, or mobility issues. I'll never forget a patient named Harold. He was 74, a retired teacher, and he came to me looking embarrassed. He said, "Doc, I know this might sound silly, but my hands hurt so much some nights that I can't even do what used to relax me." That broke my heart a little, not because of what he said, but because of how small he felt when he said it. I could see it in his eyes, a quiet shame as if age had taken away something essential. Harold's story is one I've heard 100 times in different forms. It might be a woman feeling discomfort from dryness, or a man dealing with stiffness or limited motion. These are the real human experiences of aging that don't often make it into doctors' offices or YouTube videos, but they matter deeply. Because when we talk about quality of life after 70, we're not just talking about blood pressure or cholesterol. We're talking about comfort, confidence, and connection with others and with ourselves. Now, before I share some practical comfort hacks that Harold found life-changing, I want to pause here for a moment. If this video is speaking to you, and you've ever felt embarrassed, unsure, or even a little sad about how your body responds these days, I'd like to ask you to do something small but powerful. Just type yes in the comments below. It's not about being public. It's about saying, I'm still here and I still care about my body. I read every one of your comments personally, and it helps me create advice that truly fits you. All right, let's talk about what Harold learned, and what you can too. The first thing we discovered was that the problem wasn't just his arthritis, it was the environment he'd created around intimacy. He was using dry, rough tissues, sitting in awkward positions, and not paying attention to how tension in his shoulders and wrists built up over time. Once we adjusted a few simple things, soft grips, supportive cushions, a bit of heat therapy before and after, he told me, "Doc, I didn't realize how much comfort could change the whole experience." And that's something I want everyone over 70 to understand. You can still have pleasure and comfort. You just have to adapt. Our bodies are wonderful, but they require more care and creativity as the years go by. Sometimes that means rethinking how you position yourself, using the right kind of lubrication or moisturizer, or even adjusting the time of day you choose to relax, because pain and stiffness tend to vary through the day. We'll talk more about specific comfort tools and techniques in the next parts, but for now, remember this. The goal isn't just physical release. It's relaxation, self-soothing, and maintaining that quiet relationship with your own body. When you approach it that way, with gentleness instead of frustration, everything changes. I've seen couples in their 80s rediscover closeness after years apart, simply because one of them found the courage to ask, "How can we make this feel good again?" And I've seen single seniors who thought that chapter was closed rediscover confidence in ways that lifted their whole outlook on life. When Harold came back to my office a few weeks later, I could tell right away something had shifted. He was smiling. His shoulders looked more relaxed. He sat down and said, "Dr. Easton, I actually tried what you said. The warmth, the soft towel, the slow approach. It worked. For the first time in years, I didn't feel pain. I felt peace." That's the kind of moment that makes my 30 years in men's and senior health worth it. Because it's not just about fixing a problem. It's about restoring confidence, comfort, and the quiet connection you have with your own body. You see, as we get older, the body's chemistry changes in subtle ways. Joints lose lubrication, skin gets thinner, nerve endings can become less responsive, and in both men and women, hormones shift in ways that can lead to dryness, not just down there, but across the entire body. These changes are normal, but when we don't adjust how we care for ourselves, small issues like dryness or stiffness can become big sources of frustration. That's where comfort hacks come in, and I want to share some that I've taught to many of my patients, both men and women over 70, who found them to be life-changing. Let's start with something simple: warmth. Before any kind of solo time, take a few minutes to warm your body. For arthritis, warmth increases blood flow, loosens stiff joints, and eases muscle tension. A warm compress, a short soak in a tub, or even a heating pad over your hands or hips can make a world of difference. Harold started using a small hand warmer before his evening relaxation. He said, "It's like my fingers woke up again," with a grin. Now, let's talk about comfort positioning. One mistake I often see is trying to do things the same way as when we were 40. But your body has changed, and that's okay. Try reclining against supportive pillows, or sitting in a position that puts minimal strain on your joints. For some, lying on the side works better. For others, propping up one knee helps take pressure off the lower back or hips. A folded towel under the wrists can reduce strain from arthritis in the hands. Now, for my female patients, like Margaret, a wonderful woman in her late 70s who came to me whispering, "I think I've just dried up completely," we talk about moisture and lubrication. Vaginal dryness after menopause is incredibly common, and it's not a sign of aging poorly. It's simply biology. The tissue loses elasticity and natural moisture, which can make intimacy, even solo comfort, feel painful or itchy. But with the right approach, it's easily managed. Margaret started using a simple water-based moisturizer daily, not just during intimate moments. Within a month, she said, "I feel alive again." For men, dryness can show up differently. Sensitivity changes or the skin feeling tighter or fragile. A gentle, fragrance-free moisturizer or natural oil, like coconut oil if tolerated, can protect the skin and reduce friction. Harold told me he switched from rough tissues to a soft towel and a dab of moisturizer, and the difference, in his words, was like night and day. Now, let's pause for a second here. If any of this sounds helpful, or if you're realizing you've been ignoring these little discomforts, just type yes in the comments below. I personally read through them, and it helps me understand what kind of real, practical advice to share next time. And if this topic makes you feel a bit shy, don't worry. You're in good company. Thousands of people your age are quietly searching for these same answers. Another key comfort tip that both Harold and Margaret benefited from is timing. Many seniors notice that pain and stiffness are worse early in the morning or late at night. That means the best time for solar relaxation is often midday or after a warm shower, when the joints are looser and circulation is better. Think of it like gardening or taking a walk. You wouldn't do it when you're cold and stiff. You do it when your body feels most open and relaxed. There's also the importance of mental relaxation. Many older adults carry quiet guilt or embarrassment about still wanting pleasure. But when you let go of that judgment, your body responds better. I tell my patients, you don't owe anyone an apology for being human. Pleasure, at its heart, is simply your body saying, "I'm still alive." And speaking of being alive, this is where connection matters. Even if you live alone, touch, whether self-soothing, massaging your hands, or gently caressing your body, helps release oxytocin, the same calming hormone linked to emotional warmth and bonding. It reduces anxiety, helps sleep, and even lowers blood pressure. Harold started calling his evening routine his comfort ritual, not just solo time. And that subtle shift in mindset helped him reclaim not just physical pleasure, but emotional peace.
When Harold came in for his next checkup, he looked lighter, almost like a different man. He leaned in and said, "You know, Doc, I didn't expect this to change how I feel about myself, but it has." That right there is the heart of what so many people in their 70s and beyond discover when they start paying attention to their body with kindness instead of frustration. You see, when we talk about arthritis, dryness, or any of the changes that come with aging, we tend to focus on the physical side, what hurts, what doesn't work, what feels different. But after decades of helping seniors, I've learned that the emotional part is just as important, because your body listens to your mind. And if your mind is full of worry, guilt, or fear, the body tightens up, the muscles resist, and pleasure becomes tension. Let's take a moment to think about what's really going on here. As we age, many people quietly carry the belief that sexuality or self-touch is something that should fade away. Some even call it inappropriate or unnecessary. But what if I told you that gentle, mindful touch, even just to relax and reconnect with your body, can improve circulation, support immune health, and reduce pain? That's not fantasy, that's physiology. When you touch yourself with intention and care, your brain releases endorphins, the body's natural pain relievers, and dopamine, which lifts mood and motivation. It's your body's way of saying, "Thank you for remembering me." Margaret, the 77-year-old I mentioned earlier, said something during one of our sessions that has always stayed with me. She said, "Dr. Easton, I thought this part of my life was over, but now I realize it's just different." She started seeing her solo time not as an act of youth, but as a form of self-care, something nurturing, like meditation or stretching. She would light a candle, play soft music, and approach her body with curiosity, not judgment. And that shift brought her more comfort than any medication ever could. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, "That all sounds nice, but I can barely get comfortable," I understand. That's why I always tell my patients to start small. You don't need to perform or chase a goal. You simply need to listen to your body again. Start by gently massaging your hands, your arms, or your thighs with warm oil or lotion. Feel where your skin feels dry or tight. Notice what feels soothing. This simple act helps your nervous system relax and brings awareness back to your body. And for those living with arthritis, this can also be therapeutic. Movement, warmth, and gentle pressure can keep joints from stiffening up. It's not about forcing your body, it's about working with it. Think of this as part of your self-care routine, not something separate or shameful. I want to take a moment here to speak from the heart. Many of you who watch my channel tell me privately that you feel out of touch with your body, like it's changed so much you hardly recognize it. I've had men say, "Doc, I feel clumsy now," and women say, "I just don't feel sexy anymore." But you know what? Every wrinkle, every ache, every mark, that's a story. It's your body's autobiography. You've lived through decades of life, and your body is still here, still capable of comfort, connection, and yes, even pleasure. So, here's my gentle challenge to you tonight. Don't think about what's missing. Think about what's still there. If you can take a deep breath and feel warmth in your chest, if you can hold your hand and feel its weight, you're already in touch with something beautiful. If this message resonates with you, even a little, go ahead and type "yes" in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. These simple clicks help me reach more seniors who deserve to hear that they're not broken. They're simply evolving. Now, I also want to share something personal that often surprises my viewers. Over the years, I've seen that people who maintain gentle, mindful touch routines, whether it's self-massage, solo time, or mutual comfort with a partner, often experience better sleep, less anxiety, and even lower blood pressure. It's not just emotional, it's physical health. Our bodies thrive on connection, even if that connection is with ourselves. Harold, for instance, started turning his evening routine into a form of meditation. He'd take 10 minutes to stretch his hands, apply a warm towel, and use that time to breathe deeply. He said, "I stopped rushing. Now, it's not just about relief, it's about gratitude." And I'll tell you this, that gratitude changes everything. When Harold came to see me for his 6-month checkup, he looked peaceful. Not just physically better, peaceful in the way someone looks when they've made peace with their body. He told me, "Dr. Easton, I don't fight it anymore. I've learned to work with my body, not against it. And somehow, that's made everything easier." That's exactly the transformation I hope for every one of you watching today. Whether you're dealing with arthritis, dryness, or simply the changes that come with time, comfort during solo moments or shared intimacy isn't about chasing what you used to be. It's about embracing who you are now, with wisdom, patience, and care. Now, let's talk about a few closing comfort principles that tie it all together. First, listen to your body's timing. Pain, stiffness, or dryness aren't signs to stop. They're signs to adjust. Maybe mornings feel tight, but afternoons flow more easily. Maybe certain positions feel awkward, but with a cushion or a bit of warmth, you rediscover comfort. Adaptation is not defeat, it's intelligence. Second, treat your body like an old friend, not a stranger. The relationship you have with your body at 70 or 80 is different than it was at 30. You've both been through so much together. Respect that history. When you approach your body with care, instead of frustration, your body responds in kind. And finally, make comfort a daily practice, not just in the bedroom. Throughout your day, stretch, moisturize, breathe deeply, use warmth. These small acts of care build trust between you and your body. Then, when you do decide to enjoy some quiet time, your body is already in a state of ease, not tension. Now, I know this topic can feel a little private or even awkward for some, but I want you to remember something. There's nothing shameful about self-care at any age. It's as natural as taking a walk or having a cup of tea. You're honoring your body's need for touch, comfort, and connection. If this conversation today helped you see your body differently, even just a little, please go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps this channel reach more people who need honest, compassionate advice like this. And I'd love for you to type yes in the comments below if you believe comfort and pleasure still belong in life after 70. I read every comment personally because your stories help me shape each